5 True Scary Horror Stories, Part 2. First up, we've got a tale of the worst housemate imaginable. When you're in college, sometimes you end up living with a total nightmare: dirty dishes, late-night parties, the usual nonsense. But this story takes things to a whole new level of horrifying. This girl, let's call her M, started out seeming pretty normal, well, as normal as you can be when you're getting blackout drunk on the regular. But her crazy antics quickly went from annoying to downright dangerous. We're talking about punching her best friend in the face, biting a dude so hard he cried, even trying to set her own bed on fire. The housemates did their best to keep M safe and get her some help, but one fateful night, she totally lost it. Crying, screaming, slamming doors, it was like something out of a horror movie. Her sister even had to full-on body slam her into a wall to get her under control. The housemates were sure M was gonna end up in a psych ward after that, but somehow she just kept coming back, a ticking time bomb ready to explode at any moment. Talk about a living nightmare. Next, we've got a story that'll make you think twice about living in a small town. Imagine this: you're minding your own business, going about your day, when suddenly your town is attacked by a mysterious light in the sky. People are screaming, crying, getting hit by these bizarre flashes that leave strange needle-like holes and black marks on their skin. It's like something out of a sci-fi flick, but this actually happened in a little village in Brazil. The locals started calling these flashes the Chupa, that means suck in English, because folks said it felt like the light was sucking their blood. Pretty soon, people were lighting bonfires and hiding out in fear every night. The military even showed up with anti-aircraft guns, but that didn't stop the Chupa. People were getting hit left and right, and plenty of them hightailed it out of town for good. Can't say I blame them. I'd be packing my bags too if my hometown turned into a real-life episode of The X-Files. But if you thought that was wild, wait till you hear this next one. Imagine working at a restaurant and finding out one of your coworkers is a cold-blooded killer. That's exactly what happened to one unlucky guy who thought his coworker Alan was just a regular dude trying to turn his life around after some jail time. Alan seemed to be doing great, working hard, stepping up as a stepdad, the whole 9 yards. But then he started acting weird, calling in sick all the time, and before you know it, Alan's mugshot is plastered all over the news. Turns out, he was the prime suspect in a brutal murder case. The coworker started thinking back to a morning shift he worked with Alan, right around the time of the murder. Alan was acting real strange that day, just staring off into space like he was in another world. Little did the coworker know, he was probably face to face with a killer, just hours after the guy committed the crime. If that doesn't send a shiver down your spine, I don't know what will. And we're not done yet. This next story is straight out of a horror flick. A funeral home might seem like a fitting place for a ghost story, but for one unlucky mortuary student, the haunting was all too real. Studying to work with the dead is creepy enough, but when you're living in an apartment attached to a funeral home, you're just asking for trouble. This poor girl started experiencing all kinds of unexplainable phenomena: phantom footsteps, door slamming, and worst of all, full-body apparitions of a little girl and a tall dark figure in a coat and hat. Her co-workers had seen the spooks too, so at least she knew she wasn't losing her mind. But that was little comfort when she started waking up with mysterious scratches, or when she heard a man's voice clear as day when no one else was home. The final straw was when she went to check the funeral home doors one night and heard a little girl's giggle coming from the other side. She hightailed it out of there and called her co-worker, only to hear a loud bang from inside the empty building. Suddenly, working stiff takes on a whole new meaning. Last but not least, we've got a story that proves sometimes truth really is scarier than fiction. One totally average Joe was visiting his hometown, exploring an abandoned insane asylum like something out of a scary movie. But while he and his friends were poking around the crumbling ruins, they stumbled across a horror worse than anything Hollywood could dream up: a man, naked, with a huge bleeding chunk missing from his arm. The guys ran for their lives and called the cops, but when they came back to investigate, they made a skin-crawling discovery. Not only was the bloody guy still lurking in the building, he had a bloody potato sack over his head, and rotten old abandoned clothes strewn all around him. Was he some escaped patient, or something even more sinister? Either way, that's one hometown visit none of them will ever forget. So there you have it, 5 more true tales of terror to fuel your nightmares. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content.